go in the back straight for the first time. Oh, foot to the floor. Oh my goodness, 70, 80, 90, 100. Oh my goodness. 110, 120, 130, 140, 140. We're already faster than the Stingray was. That's taking a long way to go. 160. We're going to go to 170 and hit the brakes here real hard. That was my first attempt. Unbelievable. Wow. The Chevrolet Corvette has always been something of a giant slayer, the American underdog against the best sports cars that the world has to offer. This new ZR1, though, it's aiming for even bigger prey. With 1,064 horsepower and a top speed of 233 miles an hour, it's going to take a heck of a racetrack for us to put this thing through its paces. Thankfully, we've got one of those. Welcome to Texas, welcome to the Circuit of the Americas, and welcome to the new ZR1. Heading up into turn 1 at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. One of the greatest tracks in the US and honestly one of the better tracks in the world, especially if you're doing this kind of thing. Nice wide track, fast flowing, a lot of technical corners, a lot of fast stuff, which is great for letting the car like to stretch its legs. It's been a couple of years since I've driven on this track. I've driven here before, but like I said, it's been a couple of years, and so Chevrolet's kindly given me a session or two here in a base Stingray just to kind of remind which way this track goes. I did do some laps in iRacing before I came out here too to help remember, but it's always a little bit different when you're out here for real and feeling the G-forces and the heat and the tire wear and everything else that you don't necessarily get quite so realistically in a simulator. Now again, I'm in a base Stingray right now, which means 500-ish horsepower, which is not a slash by any means. Sure, it doesn't quite compare to the 1,064 horsepower of the ZR1, but still pretty good. It's been a couple of years as well since I've been on the track in a Stingray, and my overriding impression of it the last time was that it is a fun car, but when it comes to track day stuff, I think a safe car is the best way to put it. It was definitely engineered to be compliant, forgiving, and a little bit understeery. You can definitely encourage things to kick out a little bit if you get too hard on the throttle coming out of a corner, but ultimately, when you do start to lose grip, it's usually at the front, which again, is just the safe way to be. And if you're someone who's new, this is your first Corvette, that kind of thing, it makes a lot of sense to make a car that is, you know, has a default hailing characteristic like that. And so that does make it maybe a little bit less engaging out here than hopefully the ZR1 is going to be. Certainly less so than the Z06 can be. But I gotta say, I'm still having a really great time out here on this amazing track. We're not quite going 10/10ths yet, but I think they're kind of easing us into the program, as it were. I'm also unfortunately reminded that I don't really fit very well in here with a helmet. My head is pretty much pressed right up against the roof, and there's a hard plastic bar that my helmet is resonating against. I can feel every internal combustion within that engine is reverberating through my skull in this helmet that is unfortunately about 2 sizes too small. So, you know, these are the things I go through for you, my dear viewers. But I will suffer on. All right, heading up the hill, up the front straight. Let's see what kind of speed we can get to the floor. 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 126, I think I saw. Pretty good. We'll see what we can do in the back straight now that we're getting a little bit more speed going here. The elevation changes in this course make it so much fun, and this sequence we're going through now, the S is, you know, reminiscent of the Magus-Beckus complex at Silverstone, but with a lot more elevation change thrown in the mix just to make things even more interesting. It's so much fun. And again, despite being the base Stingray, you know, you can feel again the front washing out a little bit there, but it's doing a really nice job out here. It's making me smile. That's the most important thing. And then we're going to make this left-hander. We're going the back straight and see what kind of speed we can get there. The back straight's longer than the front straight, and you're not going up that hill, which means we should hit a much higher speed than we did on the front. If I can get this hairpin okay. Not too bad. All right. There's 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 20, 30, 40, very briefly there. So pretty good. Guessing we can do a little better in the ZR1. It is about 100 degrees outside right now, and I just want to let you know that my thoughts are with my front left tire right now, which is suffering through those two right-hand corner sequences. I am very, very thankful that I'm not buying the tires today. It's so weird through turn one to feel the G-forces pick up as you go into the braking zone. You just feel like you're sucked down as you're going into the braking point, which you know it means you can brake later and later and later because you've got so much extra grip from the G-forces pushing the car in, like doubling any aerodynamic benefit. Such a wild track. Oh, this helmet is way too small. Oh my God. No blood in brain. Ugh. Okay. All right, here we go on track in the ZR1. I switched over to a convertible this time. I was speaking with the interior designer last night who told me that there's a little bit more headroom in the convertible, interestingly, and he's not wrong. It's just maybe a fraction of an inch. But just as importantly, there's a kind of a soft headliner in here so I don't have that plastic rattling against my helmet. And by the way, I have a helmet that is almost the right size for me. Maybe it's only one size too small instead of two. So just coming up to speed. I'm going to take it a little easy as I'm getting started here. Let the tires come up to temperature. The track is a fair bit colder. It's the next day, by the way. Temperature right now is 85 degrees out, which is actually quite a bit warmer than it was just a few minutes ago. It was 77 degrees last time I looked at that thermometer. And I got cold tires and all that other good stuff, so I'm going to take it a little easy as I'm getting the feel for this car, which has twice as much horsepower as the other one that I was driving. Over 1,000 horsepower, 1,064 to be exact, in the ZR1, which is, even as I'm coming up to speed, nice. Bit of an adjustment over the car that I was driving yesterday. This feels like a completely different beast than the base Stingray. All right, here we go on the back straight for the first time. Oh, foot to the floor. Oh my goodness, 70, 80, 90, 100. Oh my goodness. 110, 120, 130, 140, 140. We're already faster than the Stingray was. And I still got a long way to go. 160. We're going to go to 170 and hit the brakes here real hard. That was my first attempt. Unbelievable. Wow. All right, now we go into the long next stretcher of a sequence of right-handers here. Oh, a little tight in that first one. Ran a little wide there. Then we got a couple quick left-handers. Skip that first apex. Go for the second one here. Try not to hit those sausage curves. Okay, now we go into the faster, longer right-hander. I'm going to take it a little easy again here because I'm still feeling my way around in this much faster car. But I can already tell as I'm going through these corners, in and out of tighter corners, not only how much power this car has, which is obvious, but how much throttle response it has. I was not expecting that so much. Coming around to the final tight corner here, so take me on the front straight and go up the hill. Here we go, front straight this time, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 30, 40, 50. All right, we're gonna stop here this time. I've got, obviously, I'm gonna have to find a whole new set of brake markers for this car. Anyhow, as I was saying, the throttle response in this car is really good, and that's despite this having two giant single scroll turbos, and it doesn't have any of the fancy electronic turbo assist that the new 911 GTS has or anything like that. These are just basically old school turbos aided by some really smart engineering to keep the intakes and the exhaust as short as possible, basically to minimize the amount of piping that needs to be charged when you're adding on and building up the boost. And they've also done some basic kind of like a subtle anti-lag system that comes on board. It basically engages itself automatically when the car detects that you're driving in a rowdy fashion, as I am beginning to do here. Basically keeping everything charged up, even when you're off the throttle or at steady state throttle, to make sure that when you do get back, foot to the floor, this thing leaps forward, and it is pretty remarkable, I gotta say. Okay, here we go on the back straight again. A little more purpose this time. There's 100, there's 120, 30, 40, 50, 60. Oh, I can stop now. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit the brakes here. No, we still got room to go. I think 180 is a possibility. I don't know if I'm gonna push myself to get there today or not, though. Wow. Unbelievable. That throttle response. Really nicely balanced too. Let's get this apex, go for the next one. Let's see if we can carry a little more speed through these right-handers this time. I don't know if this looks fast because, you know, on a big Formula One circuit like this, any normal street car can kind of look a little sluggish at times, but let me tell you, this thing's remarkably quick out here. Oh, launches forward out of the corners. So much grip. Woo! Back on the front straight. All right, we're now quicker on the front straight than I was on the back straight in the Stingray. Remarkable. The other thing that's really helping me through these tighter corners is the ridiculous amount of downforce that Chevrolet was able to build into this new ZR1, so much so that they had to add basically a new way for the wing to attach to the rear deck lid. Because it was providing so much downforce, they had to basically add extra structure to the rear internals of the car. But really, obviously, the rear wing has a pretty big thing to do with the amount of downforce here. 1,200 pounds of downforce at maximum speed on this thing. But the nose is actually the big story, where normally you'd have a frunk up there where you could store maybe a helmet if your head's smaller than mine in a normal Stingray. For the ZR1, Chevrolet got rid of all that, and instead you have a big radiator to keep things cool, and also a channel for air to go up through the nose. Between that, the flat floor, the diffuser, all the other aerodynamic tweaks, 1,200 pounds of downforce in this car, way more than in the Z07 package before, but with very minimal extra drag, which makes this thing feel so incredibly nicely planted out here. It looks pretty good too. Lap after lap, those carbon ceramics are really still holding a really good bite. No hint of fade at all. We're up approaching 90 degrees now. Temperatures are still climbing. We'll probably be up to 100 again before the day is through. The brakes are still doing great. And I'm really impressed by the balance of the car. It still has just that hint of understeer at the beginning, which again gives it a nice reassuring feel. It's not going to just snap on you when you turn in. But the more you turn in, the more you load up the outside tires and really get the G's up and get the suspension working, it really starts to feel nice and balanced. You can see I'm kind of floating the car with the steering inputs. It feels really nice through the corners. Turning too sharply, the rear will come around, but it's such a nicely balanced float to it that it feels really great. Really, really good. All right, there's the checkered flag. Let's hit the hazards here and start slowing down. Where are my hazards? I don't know. Oh, there they are. One thing that this ZR1 unfortunately does not have is the new 2026 Corvette interior, which means it still has this row of buttons along the right side, which is probably my least favorite feature of this car. The 2026 Corvette moves that down in here to a much more refined look and feel. It doesn't have this big wall between you and your passenger. They've also reoriented the displays and added some other nice tech features as well. It's a real shame that is not here on the first generation ZR1 that's coming out into dealerships very soon. There will be a kind of a fast follow 2026 version of the ZR1, which will hit dealerships with the better interior, but that unfortunately, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. You won't have to wait that much longer, though, to see me sample the top shelf ZR1, the full-on ZTK package, which includes stiffer suspension, Cup 2R tires, and some other goodies that should make it even more wild out here. I can't wait. Let's go change cars. By the way, what do you think of the interior on this one? I think this white looks pretty fresh. What would you go with? What color would you have in your dream Corvette? Let me know down in the comments, and a quick reminder that likes and subscribes are always appreciated. All right, now we're on the track for my final session in the other ZR1. That's right, there are two. This is a ZR1 that's equipped with the optional ZTK package. What does ZTK get you? Well, it gets you the wing and everything, but you can get that on the lesser ZR1s as well if you want to. It also gets you upgraded suspension, stiffer and improved Magna Ride suspension on the ZTK package. And perhaps most significantly, it also gets you a set of Cup 2 tires. These are far more aggressive than the Pilot Sports that are on the regular ZR1, which is why I'm taking a little easy here as I bring them up to temperature. So no more power, nothing on that end, so this is all about handling. And I've been told that the difference between the regular ZR1 and the ZTK ZR1 is, in terms of feel, similar to the difference between a Stingray and a Z06. Let's find out. Still warming up. I got to remind myself, still warming up. Take it easy here. Now, if you've never had the opportunity to drive a Stingray and a Z06, the difference between the two is amazing. It's huge. The Stingray, as I mentioned before, is fun and enjoyable, but relatively gentle. The Z06, especially in the Cup 2s, just feels like it wants to bite your face off all the time. They feel like completely different machines. All right, here we go. Onto the front straight for the first time in the ZTK ZR1. Let's see how we do this time. Some of the squirreliness in that hairpin that I felt before is completely gone. I just put my foot to the floor and away it went. So much more grip, which should mean later braking, which might mean higher top speed, even though I've still got the same motor, same power, same everything else, just more grip. Oh my gosh, this is stuck. This is really, really planted. That stiffer suspension is really needed because of the extra grip from those tires. The car would just feel a little too soft and squishy with all this extra grip. All this extra grip. If you didn't upgrade the suspension to match, ooh, the braking feels better too, even though again we've got the same carbon ceramics. Okay, onto the hairpin. Back straight. Take a deep breath. I was holding my breath through those corners there. 140, 50, 60, 70. Oh, I think I saw 178. Forgive me if I was looking for the brake marker and not the speedo. Oh, this is way more of a workout than before. All right, on the front straight, here we go. 110, 20, 30, 40, 50. Oh, 157, I think. Oh, and I'm way too early in the brakes again. Wow. I know I'm probably not running a perfect line through here, but hope you'll give me a break. I feel like I'm having to relearn this car at This is just my second lap getting up to speed. Oh. Starting to get it moving around a little bit. So, where the normal ZR1 we'll push a little bit in the front, and then we'll transition to oversteer if you keep on turning in. With the ZTK package, that front will just turn right in on you. I'm very happy to go right to the apex, but the rear of the car might not have enough grip to keep up. Gotta be a little more careful, especially in the tight stuff when the aero isn't working for you. Oh yes, glorious. So much fun. Oh, what a great car. The hotter the tires get, the more this thing gets playful. You can really feel the difference in those lower speed corners, especially at the rear. All the downforce from that big wing is gone. And while it's still out there providing some lateral stability, but at low speeds, it's pretty much just down to how much grip the tires are putting up to the road and how gentle you are with the steering and the throttle input. It becomes a very playful car. All right, checkered flags flying there. That's the end of my time in the ZR1 with the ZTK package. It definitely does feel like a different car. And it's pretty incredible, I think, that Chevrolet gives you that option. If you want to go with a track day wild machine, go with this one. If you want something that's a little bit more streetable, definitely don't tick that box, but you can still get the big wing if you want it, so you can show off your cars and coffee meet. But overall, either way you go, what an incredible car. I've been so incredibly fortunate to be able to drive the Lamborghini Revuelto, the Ferrari SF90, other amazing cars like that. And this thing absolutely belongs to me in that same league. The power, the finesse, the handling, the throttle response, and even the noise, remarkable. This is absolutely still the giant killer that it always was. Those giants, they just keep getting bigger. Thanks as ever for watching. I really appreciate it. Drop me a comment, let me know which of the two packages would you go for in the ZR1, and what color would you go for too. I'd love to hear it. Likes and subscribes are always hugely appreciated. And thank you so very, very much. So I got a late start because they forgot to fuel this thing. So it was full of fuel. Now I'm pulling in after that one session, about 20 minutes. It is down to 12 miles of range remaining. She's a thirsty girl.